My name is Alexis Harper, and at 23 I had just graduated with a BBA summa cum laude from the local university in Hinsdale after 4 grueling years of juggling classes, jobs, and family bills. What should have been my biggest win exploded into chaos at our celebratory dinner in that cozy Italian spot downtown. The waiter had just poured the wine when Mom raised her glass for the toast. "To Alexis," she said, her voice dripping sweet. I lifted mine, heart pounding with that rare flicker of pride. Then her eyes hardened. Without warning, she swung her hand across the table and slapped my cheek sharp, stinging right there in front of everyone. The restaurant chatter faded as she leaned back and laughed, a cold, mocking bark that cut deeper than the hit. "This house isn't for fools," she spat loud enough for the next table to stare. Before I could even blink, my sister grabbed her water glass and flung it at my face. Cold liquid splashed everywhere, soaking my new dress, dripping down my chin. "You've got 10 minutes to leave," she snarled, her eyes wild with that same entitled fire Mom always fed. Dad just sat there, fork frozen midair, saying nothing, like always. The whole table went dead silent. Mom's laugh died on her lips, her face draining pale as she realized I wasn't crumbling. My sister froze, water glass trembling in her hand. I wiped my cheek slowly, tasting salt from the sting in the spray, and met their eyes. A calm smile spread across my face, the kind that says I've got the upper hand. "Then this debt is multiplied by 100, I said, voice steady, sliding my card across for the $180 bill without breaking eye contact. They had no clue I'd been plotting this flip for years. The shock twisting their faces. "Tell me where you are and what you will do when you are abandoned by your own family, because I'm about to show how one bold move wrecked their world and built mine." While they sat there frozen in that Italian haze, expecting tears or pleas, I already gripped the keys to my escape in my mind. The cold metal of the bungalow on Maple Street, tucked away on Hinsdale's quieter edge, bought in secret 3 months earlier. It wasn't some grand mansion in this upper-middle suburb of Chicago classics. No, just a modest 2-bedroom fixer-upper with creaky floors and a sagging porch priced at $250,000, affordable on the fringe where the manicured lawns gave way to wilder yards. I'd closed the deal during spring break, telling the family I was pulling extra shifts at the campus cafe. In truth, I was shaking hands with my realtor, Austin Klein, in a stuffy title office off Route 83, heart racing as the ink dried on the mortgage papers. Only 2 people knew: my roommate from the dorms, Kayla Mitchell, who'd seen me collapse exhausted one too many times after wiring cash home, and Jasmine Larson, the financial advisor I'd met at a free workshop through the university's career center. Kayla had been the spark. "Alexis, this isn't family, it's a trap," she'd said one late night, shoving a protein bar my way as I hunched over bills. Jasmine turned that spark into a blueprint. We met weekly in her cramped office near the metro station, spreadsheets glowing on her screen. "First, loyalty is to you," she'd remind me, her voice steady like the commuter trains rumbling outside. "Build boundaries, or they'll drain you dry." The plan had started 3 years back, my junior year, when the requests hit fever pitch. Mom's texts came like clockwork. "Can you Venmo $200? The Sears catalog bill's overdue." Dad's car needed tires, another $500. Mortgage short, $800 chipped in. I'd been sending 70% of my earnings, part-time admissions gig plus cafe tips, straight back to the 4-bedroom on Elmwood Lane. That left me ramen nights and thrift store jeans while Taylor flaunted new bags from Mom's hauls. But Jasmine showed me the math. "Redirect 20% first. Watch it grow." I opened a hidden account at a bank across town, no alerts to the family app. Week by week it snowballed, $50 here, $100 there, untouched even when the guilt clawed in. By senior year, that account hit $15,000, the down payment bullet. Austin Klein found the bungalow fast, a 1950s charmer with solid bones but faded wallpaper and overgrown weeds pushing through the driveway cracks. "Motivated sellers," he explained over coffee at a Hinsdale diner, maps spread out. "They relocated to Florida, want quick close." With my credit score in the 750s from years of on-time payments, ironically, the ones I'd covered for them, I qualified for the FHA first-time buyer program. Monthly mortgage less than the rent Mom had hinted at during family dinners. I signed a loan, the notary stamp echoing like freedom. No fanfare, just me slipping away on the metro back to campus, keys jingling in my pocket. That secret fueled the bigger weapon, the ledger. Jasmine and I built it line by line, a digital fortress of every dollar since I was 16. $75,000 total from 2018 to now, electric shutoffs averted with my grocery, bagger pay, mortgage top-ups during Dad's lean spells, even Mom's hidden credit card spirals on those endless Sears orders. Dates, amounts, notes, February 2022, $300 for Taylor's birthday spa day billed as house repair. It wasn't revenge then, it was proof. Proof I'd carried the Hayes roof while they pretended normalcy in Hinsdale's whisper network. But Illinois law twisted that proof into a blade. Jasmine flagged it early. Financial abuse claims allow repayment plus compound interest penalties stacking like late fees on mom's catalogs. $75,000 could balloon under court order fees, back interest at 8% the works, multiplied by relentless pressure. A nightmare they couldn't shop away. I sat on the bungalow's bare living room floor that first empty weekend, dust motes dancing in the afternoon light filtering through cracked blinds. No more midnight Venmos. No more, just this once. For the first time in 7 years as their silent safety net, the air tasted clean, suburb quiet, broken only by distant lawnmowers, my future unfolding on that scarred hardwood. That night, though, the doorbell shattered the peace. The knock came sharp against the bungalow door, pulling me from the floor where I'd been sketching furniture layouts on a napkin. I peered through the peephole. Mom, Dad, and Taylor huddled on the porch, faces drawn under the dim bulb. Rain had started, a light Chicago drizzle pattering the leaves. I swung the door open, blocking the entryway with my arm. "What are you doing here?" Mom pushed past first, her coat dripping on the welcome mat I'd bought secondhand. "The power's out at home. Everything's dark, and the fridge, it's spoiling the groceries we bought last week." Her voice cracked, eyes darting around the empty space like she was casing a crime scene. Dad followed, rubbing his neck while Taylor shoved by last, heading straight for the kitchen without a word. She yanked open the fridge stocked with my basics: yogurt, eggs, a half loaf of bread, and snorted. "Nice setup, sis. How'd you swing this dump on your salary?" I stepped inside, closing the door behind them. The air felt thick. The suburb's evening hush broken only by their shuffling feet on the hardwood. "It's mine," I said flatly, crossing to the living room. "Paid for. No more chipping in." Mom froze mid-step, her purse clutched like a shield. "What do you mean, no more? We need you for the lights, the water, everything." Dad nodded slowly, his banker posture slumping. "Alexis, come on, it's family." Taylor emerged from the kitchen, arms crossed. "Family after that stunt at dinner, you're just like Mom said, a fool playing house." Her words hung, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I grabbed my laptop from the folding table, flipped it open, and connected it to the small TV I'd mounted last week. The screen lit up with the spreadsheet columns, crisp rows, endless. "Sit," I told them, pointing to the air mattresses I'd inflated for the night. They hesitated, then lowered themselves, the room's bare walls amplifying every creak. "This is every cent." I started, clicking to the total at the bottom. $75,000, date scrolled up, 2018, my first bagger check covering the electric after Dad's layoff. $2,300 monthly for mortgage shortfalls during my freshman year. 2023, $500 for Dad's tire repair billed as essential. And the hidden ones, Mom's credit card charges, those Sears spirals disguised as house needs. $800 in February 2022 alone funneled through my account to keep the statements quiet. You called it helping. I call it theft. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "That's not, we were struggling. The catalogs were just a break." Taylor leaned forward, scoffing. "Struggling? Look at this place. You're hoarding while we scrape by." Dad stared at the screen, color draining. "How long have you been tracking this?" I pulled out my phone, dialing without breaking eye contact. The line rang twice before Destiny Reed picked up, my cousin, the Sharp family law attorney who'd clerked in Chicago courts. I hit speaker, setting it on the TV stand. "Destiny, they're here. Walk them through it." Her voice cut clear, professional edge honed from years handling divorce, asset fights. "Alexis, got the family on the line, all right, folks. Under Illinois Statute 750 ILCS 5, this qualifies as financial abuse. Coerced contributions from a minor and adult child, undocumented loans without repayment intent. We're talking full restitution, principal plus compound interest at the statutory rate, 8% annual accrued from each transfer date." The room went still. Mom whispered, "Interest." Destiny continued unfazed. "Yes. Penalties for concealment, too late fees, court costs, that's $75,000 with compounding over 7 years, it balloons. Multiply the exposure by relentless accrual and you're looking at $7,500,000 if we push damages." Taylor shot up. "This is insane. You're bluffing to scare us." Dad gripped the armrest. "Alexis, please. We can talk this out." Destiny's tone sharpened. "Not a bluff. Alexis has the records, bank transfers, texts, even those Sears statements she co-signed. Illinois courts awards this in intra-family suits. Precedents from Cook County alone show multipliers for emotional duress." Mom started sobbing, then shoulders shaking. I thought it was temporary, the shopping. It helped with the stress after Cody's job went. Taylor whirled on me. You're destroying us, our home, the life in Hinsdale gone because of your little list. I met her glare, the power shift electric in the dim lamplight. You destroyed me first years of ramen while you paraded hall silence when I begged for balance. Now it's payback time. The words landed heavy, their weight cracking the air. Destiny wrapped up. You've got 48 hours to wire the principal. After that, filing start Monday. Alexis. I nodded to the phone. Thanks, cousin. Click. They sat there, shattered, Mom's sobs echoing off bare walls, Taylor pacing like a caged storm, Dad's face ashen in the TV glow. For the first time, the haze grip slipped and I held the reins. But as their pleas piled on, the real why burned fresh in my mind. It wasn't some impulsive tantrum at that Hinsdale Italian joint. It was 7 years of being the Hayes family's cash machine ground down to survival mode in a suburb that polished its image with gossip and manicured lawns. The truth started clawing out in 2017 when I was just 15, a sophomore at Hinsdale Central High, still starry-eyed about our classic 4-bedroom on Elmwood Lane. Dad came home one October evening, tie loose, face gray like the Chicago sky. He'd been laid off from his bank job, some regulatory fallout from the 2008 crash tightened screws called Dodd-Frank that gutted middle management. He sat us down at the dinner table, voice low. It's temporary. I'll bounce back. But months dragged and his new gig consulting for half his old pay barely covered the cable bill. Mom took extra library shifts, but her paycheck dwindled fast. I found out why soon enough. At 16, I started bagging at the Jewel Osco off Ogden Avenue, hauling groceries after school for $6 an hour. My first check, $120, felt like a trophy. I handed it to Mom, expecting her to beam. Instead, she tucked it away, muttering, "This'll help with the electric." Days later, I caught her flipping through a Sears catalog circling dresses for Taylor. My sister, 3 years older, didn't work, didn't need to. Mom bought her a leather purse that week while I patched my sneakers with duct tape for my next shift. Taylor's in college, Mom said when I asked why. Let her focus. By 20, I'd won a full scholarship to the local university, staying close to keep the cash flowing. My days were a blur. 5 a.m., ethics classes, admissions desk till noon, cafe tips till dusk, then studying past midnight. Weekends, I'd ride the metro to Hinsdale, slinging coffee at a downtown shop, wiring $300 a month for the mortgage or whatever emergency Mom texted about. Taylor. She'd post selfies from weekend getaways. New outfits, new nails, all on Mom's dime. My dime. I ate instant noodles to make it work, my closet a thrift store rerun while her wardrobe screamed catalog fresh. The red flag hit hardest in 2022, my sophomore year. I was reconciling bank statements in my dorm when I spotted it, $15,000 in credit card debt siphoned through a joint account I'd stupidly co-signed at 17. Sears charges, page after page, kitchen gadgets, dresses, even a patio set billed as house needs. Mom had been paying minimums with my transfers, hiding the spiral. My stomach knotted, the screen blurring as I scrolled. How had I not seen it? I'd been their safety net, not their daughter. That's when my roommate Kayla Mitchell stepped in. One Sunday, as I sat cross-legged on our dorm floor surrounded by crumpled receipts, she grabbed my laptop. "Alexis, this isn't normal. You're not their ATM. You're 20. Taylor's out partying, your mom's hoarding catalogs, and your dad just nods along. Stop this." Her words stung, but they woke me up. I found Jasmine Larson at a campus finance workshop the next week, her no-nonsense advice cutting through my fog. "Document everything," she said, handing me a budgeting app. "You're not saving them, you're sinking yourself." We mapped it out, redirect my earnings, protect my future. I started skimming 20% off my paychecks, funneling it to a secret account. Every dollar felt like a brick in a wall between me and their chaos. By senior year, that wall was solid enough for a down payment, a new start. Hinsdale's Whisper network might have painted me as the dutiful daughter, but I wasn't playing that role anymore. This wasn't revenge for one slap or one splashed glass, it was self-defense, a calculated exit from their cycle of lies and leeching. 48 hours later, it was time to pull the trigger. The ultimatum I'd laid down in that bare bungalow living room had expired. No wire transfer, no desperate texts begging for a deal, just silence from the Hayes household on Elmwood Lane. I wasn't waiting for apologies. I sat at my folding table in Hinsdale's quiet dusk, laptop open, Destiny read on speakerphone from her Chicago office. "Ready to file?" she asked, voice clipped, all business. I nodded to the empty room, my pulse steady. Do it. We started with the lawsuit, official papers drawn up under Illinois Statute 750 ILCS 5 for financial abuse. I signed the filings digitally, each click a brick sealing their fate. Destiny walked me through it as the documents loaded $75,000 in coerced contributions from my teenage grocery checks to college mortgage top-ups, all meticulously logged. Courts here don't play, she said, citing Cook County cases where families faced restitution for less. With interest and penalties, they're cornered. I felt the weight lift, not from guilt but from years of carrying their roof. Next, I froze the joint account. That old power of attorney I'd signed at 17 back when Mom swore it was just for emergencies gave me leverage. One call to the bank and their access to my campus job earnings vanished. No more dipping into my pay for her Sears hauls or Dad's car fixes. The banker's voice was flat, professional account restricted as of 3 p.m. today. I pictured Mom's face when her card got declined at some catalog checkout, the Hinsdale gossip already stirring. Then came the mortgage company. I'd been co-signer on the Elmwood Lane house since sophomore year, another temporary favor Mom pushed. A quick email to the lender attaching proof I'd covered payments, and I was off the hook. Payments stopped today, I told the rep voice firm. The 30-day foreclosure notice would hit their mailbox soon, a ticking clock on the classic 4-bedroom they'd taken for granted. Utility companies were next, electric, water, internet. I removed my name as co-signer, cutting the final threads tying me to their bills. You're clear, the utility rep confirmed, and I exhaled, the knot in my chest loosening. Destiny overnighted the Chapter 7 bankruptcy papers to Elmwood Lane. It wasn't just a threat now. Those forms meant their non-exempt assets like Mom's leased SUV or Taylor's designer stash could be seized to settle debts. Illinois law was brutal, but clear. File, liquidate, start over. I didn't blink at the thought. They'd spent years liquidating my future. Now the scales tipped. Dad called that evening, his voice shaky through Destiny's office line. My number was blocked by then. Alexis. I'm filing for divorce, he said, citing irreconcilable differences. The pressure of the looming foreclosure and Mom's hidden debts had cracked him. I listened silent as he rambled about moving to a studio apartment. No pleas could sway me now. Taylor's turn came faster. Her manager at the Hinsdale Mall texted Destiny. Taylor had snapped at a customer, stress boiling over, and got canned on the spot. Her side hustle dreams of reselling clothes weren't paying rent. Every move was calculated, a domino toppling their fragile setup. I didn't answer their calls or texts, routing everything through Destiny. My phone stayed quiet, social media locked down no more, Venmo pings or guilt trips. Hinsdale's whisper network would carry the story. Soon enough, the Hayes family, once polished in their suburban facade, unraveling under debt they'd pinned on me. Each step, filings, freezes, notices, locked in the consequences of their choices, not mine. By the time the foreclosure notice landed, their world was already crumbling. 1 month later, the Hayes house on Elmwood Lane stood silent, a foreclosure sign staked in its front yard like a tombstone. The classic 4-bedroom, once the envy of Hinsdale's polished suburb, was headed to auction, slated to sell for $200,000, well below market, as the bank clawed back what Mom's catalog binges had buried. I drove by once, not to gloat, but to confirm it was real. The windows were dark, curtains gone, my old room's wallpaper peeling where posters of my teenage dreams used to hang. Destiny dragged her life to a friend's couch across town, selling off her Sears hauls on Facebook Marketplace to scrape by. Her leased SUV, the one I'd co-signed for in a naive moment at 18, was towed away. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy didn't spare non-exempt toys. Her credit score tanked below 500, locking her out of Hinsdale's manicured rental market. I heard it through the suburbs, whisper network, neighbors murmuring at the Jewel Osco. Destiny Hayes is done living off hand-me-downs now. She called once, voice cracking through Destiny Reed's office line. My number stayed blocked. Alexis. How could you let this happen? I didn't answer. Her temporary shopping fixes weren't my burden anymore. Taylor's fall hit faster. Her job at the Hinsdale Mall selling overpriced athleisure ended when she snapped at a customer over a return dispute. Stress from the foreclosure notice had her unraveling. She tried texting me, a single "sorry sis" popping up on my locked screen before I swiped it away. Too late for apologies. Her side hustle of reselling designer bags flopped. No one in Hinsdale bought from a name now tied to scandal. She couch-surfed with friends, her Instagram silent, the privilege she'd worn like a crown finally stripped. Dad rented a studio apartment on the edge of Chicago, a bare-bones box with a flickering bulb and a view of a brick wall. He left a voicemail via Destiny Reed, his voice heavy with something new. Guilt. I let you carry us, Alexis. I should have stopped her shopping. I didn't call back. His no-fault divorce from Destiny was finalized in Cook County, citing irreconcilable differences over debts I'd once paid. He was starting over, but not with my help. The Hinsdale gossip mill churned harder. My neighbor Courtney Bennett caught me at the mailbox whispering, "The Hayes family fell apart so fast after that dinner blow-up. Everyone's talking." I didn't feel triumph and no rush of vengeance. I stood on my bungalow's sagging porch, the evening breeze carrying the scent of cut grass from nearby lawns. Guilt that old shadow should have clawed at me. Years of wiring cash had wired it into my bones. But it didn't. I felt nothing, not even pity, as their world crumbled under choices they'd made, not mine. The suburbs' whispers didn't sting. They confirmed what I'd known. Their polished facade built on my paychecks had cracked wide open. Taylor's text lingered on my phone for a moment before I deleted it. Sorry didn't erase 7 years of her parading while I patched shoes. Mom's plea didn't undo the catalog stacked in secret. Dad's regret couldn't rewind his silence. The foreclosure sign wasn't just a bank's claim, it was proof. Proof that financial abuse dressed up as family duty had consequences. In Hinsdale, where image was everything, their name was now a cautionary tale whispered over coffee at the local diner. 6 months later, I'd built something they couldn't touch. 1 month later, the Hayes house on Elmwood Lane stood silent, a foreclosure sign staked in its front yard like a tombstone. The classic 4-bedroom, once the envy of Hinsdale's polished suburb, was headed to auction, slated to sell for $200,000, well below market, as the bank clawed back what Mom's catalog binges had buried. I drove by once, not to gloat, but to confirm it was real. The windows were dark, curtains gone, my old room's wallpaper peeling where posters of my teenage dreams used to hang. Destiny dragged her life to a friend's couch across town, selling off her Sears hauls on Facebook Marketplace to scrape by. Her leased SUV, the one I'd co-signed for in a naive moment at 18, was towed away. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy didn't spare non-exempt toys. Her credit score tanked below 500, locking her out of Hinsdale's manicured rental market. I heard it through the suburbs whisper network, neighbors murmuring at the Jewel Osco. Destiny. Hayes is done living off hand-me-downs now. She called once, voice cracking through Destiny Reed's office line. My number stayed blocked. Alexis, how could you let this happen? I didn't answer. Her temporary shopping fixes weren't my burden anymore. Taylor's fall hit faster. Her job at the Hinsdale Mall selling overpriced athleisure ended when she snapped at a customer over a return dispute. Stress from the foreclosure notice had her unraveling. She tried texting me, a single "sorry sis" popping up on my locked screen before I swiped it away. Too late for apologies. Her side hustle of reselling designer bags flopped. No one in Hinsdale bought from a name now tied to scandal. She couch-surfed with friends, her Instagram silent, the privilege she'd worn like a crown finally stripped. Dad rented a studio apartment on the edge of Chicago, a bare-bones box with a flickering bulb and a view of a brick wall. He left a voicemail via Destiny Reed, his voice heavy with something new. Guilt. I let you carry us, Alexis. I should have stopped her shopping. I didn't call back. His no-fault divorce from Destiny was finalized in Cook County, citing irreconcilable differences over debts I'd once paid. He was starting over, but not with my help. The Hinsdale gossip mill churned harder. My neighbor Courtney Bennett caught me at the mailbox whispering, "The Hayes family fell apart so fast after that dinner blow-up. Everyone's talking." I didn't feel triumph, no rush of vengeance. I stood on my bungalow's sagging porch, the evening breeze carrying the scent of cut grass from nearby lawns. Guilt that old shadow should have clawed at me. Years of wiring cash had wired it into my bones. But it didn't. I felt nothing, not even pity, as their world crumbled under choices they'd made, not mine. The suburbs' whispers didn't sting. They confirmed what I'd known. Their polished facade built on my paychecks had cracked wide open. Taylor's text lingered on my phone for a moment before I deleted it. Sorry didn't erase 7 years of her parading while I patched shoes. Mom's plea didn't undo the catalog stacked in secret. Dad's regret couldn't rewind his silence. The foreclosure sign wasn't just a bank's claim, it was proof. Proof that financial abuse dressed up as family duty had consequences. In Hinsdale, where image was everything, their name was now a cautionary tale whispered over coffee at the local diner. 6 months later, I'd built something they couldn't touch.